Hi, I'm Debbie Naylor with Unforgettable Stamping, and today I'm going to share with you how to make this quick and easy Thinking of You card featuring the Positively Chevron stamp and the Serene Silhouette stamp set by Stampin Up. Okay, so let's get started. Once again, I'm turning to my favorite product, the note card and envelope sets. These come in a pack of 20. I feature them all the time. I just love them because it really makes it easy. They come pre-scored and you get the matching envelopes. They come in Whisper White and Crumb Cake, which I'm going to be using today. So the first thing I'm going to do is at the pre-scored mark, I'm just going to fold my card over and use my bone folder to make a nice fold, and I'm going to set these aside. And I wanted to feature what looks like designer paper, but actually you're going to use a background stamp to make that, and that's this Positively Chevron stamp that looks like this. It comes in wood mount and clear mount. I prefer the wood mount personally, but you know, it works great either way. But I wanted to show you how I pulled my colors for my card. So starting with this Crumb Cake base, I went to my color coach. This is a $14.95 item. I use it all the time. It has all of our colors, and then you can buy the additional in-color pack each year. But you just unscrew this and you add the colors each time we add new in-colors. But I went to my Crumb Cake card, and if you flip that over, it shows you color combinations. And so I decided to go with this top one with the pumpkin pie and the So Saffron, and use that as my basis of my colors. I actually wanted to go a little brighter, so I chose my Daffodil Delight. I know it works equally well with the pumpkin pie, and because it is a brighter color, instead of using the garden green, I pulled in my Old Olive. All three of those colors, the Daffodil Delight, the pumpkin pie, and the Old Olive, are from the Brights color collection, so I know they're going to work great together. So I used this as a basis, but then I, changed it a little bit. But because Stampin' Up puts colors together that work well together, I knew that the three colors from the Brights would work great together. So that's where I got my color combination from. Just wanted to share that little bit of background with you. And now I'm going to show you the best way to use the background stamps, and that's actually to put them face up on your workstation. And so just going to take the ink pad. Now with this one, if I wanted it perfectly smooth, a brayer is the best way. However, my ink pad is really juicy, and I don't care if it's not evenly colored. I think it gives it a little more character. So I'm just going to apply the ink and making sure that I get the whole, ink pad pretty well saturated. And I'm going to take my piece of cardstock that I've already pre-cut. Now, if you are a subscriber to my newsletter, you'll be getting the project sheet for this card in my newsletter that's going out later today. If you're not already a subscriber, please hop over to my blog, and there's a place in the upper right-hand corner of the sidebar of my blog where you can subscribe. If you are seeing this after I've sent out my newsletter this week, just send me an email and I'll be happy to send you that project sheet. Okay, so I'm just going to lay my cardstock right on top, and to prevent ink from getting all over my fingers, I'm just going to take a piece of scrap paper and rub. And by rubbing it, I know that I'm going to get the ink to fully get contact with my paper. And then when I lift that away, it shows you how easily you can transfer that ink over to your cardstock. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside, and I'm going to stamp my image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamp, and I'm actually using the Serene Silhouettes. I've used this for other cards in the past. I'm going to be using this butterfly image today. So I'm going to take my pumpkin pie ink, and I need to just ink that up really well. And on a piece of scrap paper, I'm going to be, now because this is a really, really juicy ink pad, I'm just going to lightly tap it And I'm going to stamp and hold that down for just a minute because you want the ink to get fully absorbed into your cardstock. And because this is a solid image and because my ink pad is so wet, I'm just going to hold that on just a little bit longer. Okay, and there we go. Now I want to let that completely dry. I don't want it to smear at all. So I am going to set that aside for just a second. And I want to show you how, I've shared this in the past, but this is a great little tip. This scallop here is Daffodil Delight, and you'll notice that my mat that's between my card and my stamped background piece is Daffodil Delight. Now, because you're only going to see the outside edge, it's a great place to actually get the mat for your embellishment. So I'm just going to punch out using my large scallop circle punch right from the middle of that piece. And that's going to save you in cardstock, and it's also going to mean that, you know, with our cardstock, they're different die lots, and even though you get a pack of Daffodil Delight today and a pack of Daffodil Delight tomorrow, there may be just a slight variation in that die. So this way you know it's going to be a perfect match. That doesn't mean it's not going to look good if you get one pack to another, you know, don't get me wrong, but this way you just know it's going to be a perfect match because you're pulling it from the same piece of cardstock. So I'm going to do that and set that aside. I'm going to go back to this piece, and I'm going to use my 1 3/4 inch circle punch and center that up and punch it. Okay. Now what I want to do is add a little bit of color to my butterfly. So I'm going to use the Daffodil Delight marker, and again, I want to use the brush tip, and that's the one with the wider line. The side of the marker with the thin line is your fine tip. I don't need a fine tip. I just want to add just a little bit of color to differentiate the butterfly from the flowers. Okay, and now I want to add some glitter. So I like to add the dazzling diamonds. I put a couple of different little containers into one big container that has a screw-on lid, and I have this cute little spoon that I picked up at a scrapbook expo a couple of years ago, and it's perfect. So the best way I find to add the dazzling diamonds is using a two-way glue pen. And it's a two-way glue pen because you can use it in two ways. If you use it when it's wet, in this instance, we're going to add glitter to it. It's a permanent adhesive. If you apply it to something and then you let it dry, it's going to be tacky and repositionable. So I want it to be permanent, so I'm going to do a little bit at a time. I'm just going to dab on the glue where I want the glitter to go, and I'm going to work with a couple flowers at a time, and then I'm going to just spoon on. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm going to work a little bit at a time because I do want my glitter to stay put once I get it on my embellishment. I guess I can go ahead and do this one. And sometimes when it's a small embellishment like that, I like the bigger container because I can just dip it in. But you definitely want to give it a flick from behind so that that glitter doesn't come off all over the place. And I'm just going to add a little bit to my butterfly. Okay. Fill that in completely. Again, give it a good little flick there. And that's all there is to adding a little bit of glitter, and it just makes it pop so much prettier. Oh, one thing I forgot to do is stamp my envelope. So let me pull that pumpkin pie ink back out while I'm letting that glitter dry. And I always like to open the flap so I know exactly where I'm stamping. I tend to stamp in the bottom left-hand corner of my envelope only because my return, I tend to mail cards more than hand them out. So my return address is going to go there, and then the address of the person that I'm sending it to is going to go right here. And then, of course, your stamp goes in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside now, and I want to show you how I added another layer or what looks to be another layer between the Daffodil Delight and the Whisper White that I've stamped on here. Do you see that little bit of Old Olive? The way I achieved that, I didn't want to add another layer, but I wanted to get that color. And so what I've done is I take the edge of my, be careful because you don't want the glitter going on your ink pad, but just roll it across. And do you see how it's attaching, or it's bleeding up into the Whisper White? So it's more than just on the edge. And if you kind of do it at an angle, it's going to bring it in a little bit more. But that's how I added that little bit of Old Olive to make that really pop off the Daffodil Delight layer. Okay, so now the last thing I want to do is stamp my sentiment. So I've taken the Thinking of You, and this is from the Teeny Tiny Wishes stamp set. I have it in wood mount because I use this all the time. You get 24 different sayings, anything from sympathy to baby to anniversary, Happy New Year, for your shower, Merry Christmas. This is a great all-around sentiment step for people who are card makers. Definitely worth the investment, I feel. So the Thinking of You, I'm just going to ink it up with the Old Olive and stamp it on just a strip of Whisper White. I'm going to set that aside for just a second, give that ink a chance to get into the paper. And now I'm going to take my word window punch and I'm just going to turn it upside down and center that around the saying and just pop that out. And then I'm going to layer that on top of the Modern Label Punch with the pumpkin pie, but I wanted to save a little bit of time, so I have pre-punched that out. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. Just a little bit of my Tombow ink. I have a hard time putting things down straight the first time, so with this Tombow being a liquid glue, you can reposition it really easily before that completely dries. So now I'm going to put all my little pieces over here. And I've got one more thing to do. I need to do this banner. So what I've done is I have a piece of Old Olive that I've pre-cut. And I'm going to go ahead and notch out, I don't know if you can tell, but I have the polka dot texture added to it. I find it's easier if I notch it out first and then add the texture last. So like I always do, to cut out a banner easily and quickly, just take your scissors, go up through the middle. It doesn't really matter how far you go in. And then you're just going to cut from the corners to that middle spot. And then once you've done that, I like to take the folder, and if you hold up your cardstock to the top, you can line up exactly. So I kind of wanted to have that center line of polka dots right there in the middle. And then I'm just going to run it through my Big Shot. And once I've done that, you get a piece that looks like this. And now I'm ready to put my card together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere the stamped chevron piece to my Daffodil Delight. And because I have that hole cut out in the middle, I just want to put the adhesive around the outside edge. And again, a little bit of this adhesive goes a long way. Straighten that out if you need to. Okay, now I'm going to add my banner piece. And again, you really only need to go around the outside. And I'm just going to put that over here. Okay. And then I'm going to add this piece to my card. Now I'm going to take my dimensionals and I'm going to add peel those off, And I like to offset my sentiment a little bit, since I have my banner on the left side of the page. And then now to adhere this, I'm just going to put in 2 to attach that to my scallop piece. And then I'm going to take my scallop piece and add on the opposite sides that I did for my, now the stem is here, the butterfly is kind of off kilter there. I'm just going to add that, and there you go, a quick and easy card. Thinking of you, certainly easy to change it to birthday, thank you, whatever the occasion you need to have. You could certainly make a bunch of these and leave the sentiment off and add that as you need it. A different number of color combinations would work great with this card layout, and I think that's bright and cheery, and it'll certainly brighten somebody's day. So I hope you give this card a try. Again, my blog is Unforgettable Stamping, and if you'd like the project sheet, make sure that you're a subscriber to my newsletter. I will be sending that out later today. I thank you for your time today. Have a great day, and see you next week. Bye-bye.